Xavi, Hernandez and the Tika-Taka philosophy are both things that have had a long time association with Barcelona. Xavi is the latest manager to try and recreate the footballing perfection that was Pep Guardiola's early 2010s Barcelona team. Before we get started, thank you for Marty Yurt for this idea. Make sure you check out his channel in the description below. So, while Pep was always seen as the long-term replacement for Cruyff at Barcelona, there's always been rumours that Pep saw Xavi as his eventual successor. It's one of those moves that just seemed inevitable. Xavi was the thinker in Pep's midfield, similarly to how Pep was the thinker in his midfield. The person responsible for dictating the tempo, starting moves, driving Barcelona forwards, and therefore knowing the most about Tika-Taka and the style of football Guardiola liked to play. Guardiola and Cruyff did share many ideological similarities in their style of play. Heavy focus on passing, movement, and attacking with every position were key to their successes in Spain. However, it was Guardiola that amplified and modernised Cruyff's idea of total football to get success in his Barcelona team. Xavi's appointment is getting people talking about the return of Tika-Taka to Barcelona. However, will he simply adapt the existing roles of Tika-Taka to his style of play, or will he find a new way to adapt it and further suit the even more physical, modern football that he'll be playing against on a regular basis? First of all, let's get started by actually defining what Tika-Taka is. The three main key points are short passing, extreme pressing, and constant off-the-ball movement to provide passing options to your team. The golden age of Tika-Taka has been over for almost 5 years, but a similar and more intense style of football called Gegenpress has taken over as the meta tactic around Europe. Gegenpress was the main vulnerability to the style of Tika-Taka. It was exploited at the last big tournament that Spain did use the style, the 2016 Euros. While they still had the majority of their golden generation playing, Xavi was one of the few who retired after the World Cup in 2014. The high press of Croatia, mixed with athletic and quick attack, was enough to scare Spain and defeat them in the group stage. Later in the tournament, Conte's Italy played a 3-5-2 formation that used super aggressive pressuring to keep Spain from using their off-the-ball movement. This resulted in a lack of space, a lack of chances, and an eventual defeat to the Italians. So what's Xavi likely to do at Barcelona? Will he try and bring Tika-Taka back to Barcelona using the youth of Pedri, Gavi, Fati and De Jong? Or will he prefer to adopt some of the Gegenpress, even more extreme pressing, but with a less reliance on possession and attack and more of a reliance on counter-attacking? For the sake of this video, we'll assume Xavi is nostalgic for the early 2010s and does go for the more possession passing style of play. If he does this, he'll need great passing stats in every single position, including the goalkeeper. He'll also need outstanding positioning and stamina stats too. So let's have a look in the first 11 and see who'll actually need replacing in this rebuild situation. Your goalkeeper is going to need to be outstanding with their feet, often coming out of the box and being used as a sweeper keeper. Thankfully, ter Stegen is a great goalkeeper, but he's also adequate on the ball. He might not be at the Neuer, Alisson, Ederson level of passing, but he can definitely hold his own with a couple of long passes. This is a position that's already ready for the Tika-Taka revolution, so we don't need to talk too much about it. The fullback positions are an area that definitely needs to be good for Tika-Taka to have any chance of a comeback. Alves and Alba were both better going forwards than they were defending, but they were still very much capable at doing both. Alba's still at Barcelona, so the style of football won't be an issue for him. However, he is a decade older, so it might be worth looking at a replacement. Jose Gaia is the obvious heir to Alba's throne. He'll cost you a decent sum of around £50 million, but you'll have a top quality left back for at least the next 5 years. He's exactly what you need in a fullback too, with 81 short passing, 87 stamina and 82 ball control, and also has really good pace off the ball, so he's everything you need in the perfect total football mould of being able to fit in at almost any position. On the other side, so at right back, you have Mingueza, who's basically a centre-back who's playing out of position, Sergi Roberto, who never seems to have really adapted to playing as a wing-back, preferring to probably play a bit further forward in midfield, and Molawagwe, who's never lived up to his previous 84 potential. Serginho Dest is the most Tika-Taka ready player, with decent passing and ball control, and average stamina. Like Alba, he does have really good pace, but unlike Alba, he is only 20 years old. By the time he hits his max potential in the mid-80s, Dest will have very similar stats to Dani Alves. In the first couple of seasons, you will need to get as many minutes into Dest as you can to try and train him up to get to his potential, but you'll get the dividends by the end of the second season as he progresses into an elite right wing back. Gerard Piguet is the model of what a Tika-Taka centre-back needs to be. Great passing, okay pace, good composure, and the ability to intercept and move the ball to an open teammate within a couple of seconds. However, Piguet is now 34 years old, so a replacement is needed and most likely within the first season. Similarly to Alba, his heir is pretty apparent. Pau Torres has been heavily linked with Barcelona, and you can see why. He's got really good passing, really good ball control, especially for such a tall centre-back, which makes him the ideal replacement for Piguet, but the extra pace and stamina will allow you and Barcelona to press higher up the pitch, which is a bit more of a modernised version of Tika-Taka. Sometimes it might be hard to replace such an important player to the team, but in this situation, I think it's as simple as signing Pau Torres. Alongside Torres or Piguet, you'll once again be looking to develop a player. Massively far out choice for this other centre-back position could be using Frenkie de Jong. He can play at centre-back and he's one of the most technical centre defensive midfielders on the game. If he was playing at centre-back, he'd be so far ahead of every other centre-back at passing, dribbling and pace that it's almost unfair, but he does have the unfortunate lack of height, being only 180 centimetres tall. Ronald, Araujo and Eric Garcia are both high potential players, but they have different skill sets. Araujo is more of a traditional centre-back, with good pace and excellent defensive stats, but Garcia is much like Piguet, better on the ball and much more technical. Piquet's old partner, Carles Puyol, was never actually that amazing at passing, so the decision of a second centre-back is how you view the style of play. If you want to be more secure, maybe go for Araujo, but if you want to be more idealistic for how Tika-Taka should be played, then Eric Garcia is the one you want to train up. The midfield three will all need the same phenomenal ball control and passing ability that Busquets, Iniesta and Xavi himself had. You'll need one of them to break up the play, one of them to be more comfortable at dribbling with the ball to bring your forward line into play, and then you'll need one who can sit and just find the passes that no one else can. But there's more than enough talent in the existing Barcelona squad to do this. Busquets himself is still able to break up the play, so any replacement will need to get past him first. Arguably the most important stat for him and his position is Composure, which Busquets actually has 90 of. This is used to outfox pressing attackers and almost always play the right pass to either one of the two centre midfielders in front of him or the two wing backs beside him. Frenkie is capable of this role and he'll be the natural player to start phasing Busquets out. In front of Frenkie or Busquets, you'll be wanting to play probably Xavi and Pedri. For an 18-year-old and a 16-year-old to carry a team is almost unheard of, especially at the level of Barcelona player. Pedri is easily able to play as the dribbling midfielder in the Iniesta role. Gavi isn't quite ready to be the Xavi of the team, but by the time he turns 20 in 4 seasons, expect him to be in at least the low 80s. For the Xavi role, you'll likely be playing De Jong until Gavi is ready, but this is almost perfectly going to correspond with the time that Busquets becomes unusable with pace because of deterioration, so there is a natural replacement that will occur after Season 3. Another player to consider for your midfield 3 would be Quigg. He's nowhere near his former 89 potential and the tag of the next Iniesta, but if Xavi can develop him in the image that he played in himself, the ball control, agility and balance stats could go through the roof and give you yet another homegrown talent to slot into that midfield. The 2010s front three had some of the best combinations of players ever seen at club level. Messi, Villa and Pedro was the most common, but Messi, Eto'o and Bojan, or even Alexis, Messi and Villa were all lethal in different combinations. There's a common theme between these players. There's always a wide playmaker, that's usually Messi, a direct finisher, so that's Villa and Eto'o, and a direct runner in behind, Pedro or Bojan. This gave multiple different combinations that Barcelona could attack in different ways depending on the style of play their opponents used. If it was a high line, they could go for 2 direct runners in behind and a playmaker in the middle. If they were played really deep and they wanted to get lots of chances around the box, they could usually even go with 3 playmakers on the edge of the opponent's box. With no Messi anymore, you're in desperate need of a star up front. But Ansu Fati has the stats to be able to play both as the wide finisher in the role that Villa, Henry and Eto'o all did so well for Barcelona, but also has potential to be another megastar almost on the same level as Messi. 90 sprint speed, 80 finishing and 89 agility will all allow Fati not only to finish chances, but also turn provider for your other two forwards. In the attacking playmaker position, this year's signing Memphis Depay has turned it up a notch since joining from Lyon. He's almost an exact fit for the role, while not quite on Messi level. He has 85 ball control, 85 vision, 82 pace, 83 finishing and 83 strength. At only 27, he has the potential to get slightly better, but Depay is more than good enough to play in the roles that Xavi will want him to and get attacks finished off appropriately. The final player needed in this attack is the direct runner who can get in behind. Usually they do the pressings for both themselves and Messi in the middle, leaving Messi to focus on creating and finishing chances. Dest is currently playing as the right winger doing something similar, but with high-low work rates he's not quite what you need on the right wing. Ousmane Dembele is more than capable on FIFA, as I'm sure you know, but he's got low stamina and low defensive stats, so he might not be the man you want if you do need pressing from him. However, my personal suggestion would to be instead increase the amount that Depay presses with his high work rates and use Dembele as more of the creator on the right. Finding spaces, creating chances, he's got blistering pace, he's got 5-star weak foot and amazing dribbling, but his finishing is too low to expect more than sort of 10 to 15 goals each season from him. He's also only got 70 stamina, so you might be looking for a replacement sooner rather than later, even if it's just someone on the bench to cover him for the last 20 minutes of the game. You'll enjoy the time you have him as Dembele develops up towards 90 overall. So, that's a full rundown of how Xavi could possibly introduce Tika-Taka, an almost extinct style of football, to Barcelona. Will it happen in real life? I mean, it's possible, but personally I can only ever see certain aspects of this style coming forward, so maybe trying to introduce gegenpress philosophy of higher press, and trying to introduce more of a possession style rather than the counter-attack, rather than the full ideology. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video, and if you've got any suggestions for signings that Barcelona could use if they did go back to using full Tika-Taka, leave them in the comments below, and we'll all have a look at them together if we do try and do this save. So thank you all for watching, hopefully you've enjoyed it, give it a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. As I mentioned at the start, thank you to Marty Yurt for this idea, and check out his channel by clicking on him in the description below. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.